Right guys, today we're going to be talking all about carbs, insulin and hydration for gains and performance, how many carbs we need to eat, how this is going to affect our insulin, and how we need to utilize sodium, electrolytes and water to get the most bang for our buck. So quick summary, what insulin actually does, what insulin is. It is a storage and anti-catabolic hormone. It opens our GLUT4 transporters. GLUT4 is what allows us to put glycogen into our muscles, glucose into those muscles. It stops muscle protein breakdown and it stores glucose as glycogen, fatty acids as triglycerides, and amino acids as muscle proteins. So it's pretty bingo for getting our food into our muscles, and obviously our muscles need protein to grow and repair. They need carbohydrates to create ATP, to create energy and to perform, and our body needs fats to move around our hormones, keep us healthy and running. So insulin is pretty much the main man for that job. And in the video where we're talking all about carbohydrates, like this one, insulin is going to go up when we consume those carbohydrates to get that food we've just eaten, that sugar in our blood, into those muscles, stored up, ready to be used, ready to go to work. So more carbohydrates is going to mean more insulin, which is going to mean more growth, more performance in the gym. Everything is golden, but it can lead to more body fat gain if we still eat a high fat diet. So unless our fats are low and compensated for by the fact we're eating high carbohydrates, we compensate with low fat. If we end up eating high fat and high carbohydrates, this insulin is going to have those storage go, and our storage is obviously going to be biased towards carbohydrates. They're our body's preferred source of fuel. They're what our muscles use first. That's all going to go in. Once those muscles are full and glycogenated, that insulin is then going to have that body fat, those fatty acids, stored straight as triglycerides, and there'll be no point where the fat we eat will be used as energy to do movement, because all of our energy will be coming from the golden source of carbohydrates. So if we're eating lots of carbs, getting all those benefits, lots of insulin, we need to be eating a little bit less fat to compensate thereof. So proper hydration will improve nutrient delivery. We have insulin as the mailman doing the job. We still need hydration to get carbs where they need to be. We need sodium, we need water, we need our electrolytes, our potassium and our magnesium. I recommend 3 to 5 grams of sodium a day, 30 to 40 milliliters per kilogram of body weight of water, 2 to 3 grams of potassium, and 3 to 500 milligrams of magnesium to have that A-OK balance to get that carbohydrate where it needs to go. So 1 gram of carbs will hold on to about 3 or 4 grams of water, which will obviously help us fill out. Fuller muscles will have a larger, bigger area. That bigger area will allow those units to have more power. It's like a simple case of mass moves mass. If you've got full, big muscles, they will be able to move a bigger weight than a sort of drained, starved, small, flat muscle. It's smaller, it controls less area, so it can therefore lift less weight. So we want to be big, nice and full to get the absolute optimum performance out of our training. So we have our carbs in our system, insulin in our system, we need sodium, we need water, we need electrolytes. If we're missing any of those, the sort of balance, they all need to hold hands together and work together, will go. So if you're dehydrated or you're lacking these electrolytes, you're not going to get the same amount of pumps, the same amount of fullness, the same amount of performance. Same if you've got all the water, all the electrolytes, none of the carbs, you're not going to reap any of those benefits. So you need all three to keep you going as best as you can. So one of the most common misconceptions when it comes to food is that calories are calories, and that 100 calories of a Kit Kat and 100 calories of an apple are the same. It's nonsense. Not all carbs are created equal due to a thing called the glycemic index. Not only can things be the same on a macro level, on a micro level, they can be very different. So yes, you can get the same amount of carbs, proteins and fats from your Kit Kat as you can from your apple, or whatever other carb source you choose, your oats, your rice, something healthier, a whole food alternative basically. You will have a different glycemic index, which is essentially the speed that that food is released, that blood sugar will go up. So a lower GI will be a slower release, a smaller curve release of that blood sugar, whereas a higher GI will be a faster release, a quicker spike, and a quicker trough. So high GI, fast release are ideal peri-workout, pre, intra, and post. and these slower releases are better throughout the day. So we're thinking about breakfast, last meal of the day, meals that aren't around the workout to give us sustained energy with that smaller spike chugging along, and then pre, intra and post, we want that big spike, get that carb in that system ready to train. So in the case of not all carbs being equal and some carbs being better than others, you might have that person who says calories are calories, food is food, I'm going to eat the Kit Kat instead of the apple. But if they're having that Kit Kat right before bed, they'll be getting a big spike of sugar, whereas the apple right before bed, it'll be slower, more continuous release. It'll have more fiber in it. It's got glucose, it's got fructose, it actually has micronutrients, so it has nutritional value as opposed to processed food and junk food, which is just slop. If it's not got good micros and it's got a terrible breakdown of macros, don't eat it. So lots of people always bring up the fact I recommend a low-fat diet, and they always bring up the fact that insulin causes fat gain or insulin prevents fat gain. Some people don't know which way to swing on that seesaw, but essentially when we have high insulin, our glucose oxidation will go up and our fat oxidation will go down, which means we'll be using carbs and we'll be burning carbs. We won't be burning fats, so fat store will come more easily. We will be in a state, obviously with insulin being a storage hormone and an anti-catabolic hormone, will be in a state more ready to receive and store those fats as opposed to burn them and use them for energy. So really we want as minimal, as low dietary fats as we can get away with and be healthy with to avoid any excess body fat gain. Obviously fat gain, weight gain is going to come from a calorie surplus anyway, but if we have that calorie surplus made up of fats, it's going to be a lot easier to get fat versus if that calorie surplus is made up of carbs and proteins, it's going to be a lot harder because we'll be able to use those storages as energy first. So if we want a rough guide for calculating our macros, we first need to know what our calories are. So once you've figured out that, what you need to be in a maintenance phase, a cutting phase, or a gaining phase, you're going to get your protein, you're going to get your body weight, 1.6 grams to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you're cutting, we'll go for this higher side of 2.2. If we're growing, we'll go at this lower side of 1.6, because when we're in a surplus, anti-catabolic, we're all anabolic. We're not going to be breaking down our muscle protein stores, so we need to eat less protein, whereas we're in a cut, that extra protein will help us retain more muscle. Fat, 0.2 grams to 0.5 grams per kilogram. If we're in a gaining phase, we'll look at being on this lower end of 0.2 because we'll be heavier, we'll be growing. We don't want excess fat to get stored as excess fat. Whereas if we're cutting, 0.5 grams because we'll be in a deficit. We want to keep our hormones healthy, and fat will help keep us satiated and fuller, as well as protein will keep us satiated and fuller. So cravings and eating will be a lot easier. And then all of the rest of our calories will come from carbohydrates. So if I'm eating 4,000 calories, I will get my protein, I will get my fats, I will do the maths, 4 calories per gram of protein, 9 calories per grams of fat. I'll add up the calories I'm getting from protein, I'll add up the calories I'm getting from fat, I'll take that away from my total for the day, and the rest of those calories will be carbs. Divide that number by 4. So if the number's 1,600, divide that by 4, you've just earned yourself 400 grams of carbohydrates. So we've just found out how many carbs we're eating. Now we'll look at spreading those out throughout the day. Peri-workout is most important, pre, intra, and post. It's also crucial for these meals, which are going to be higher in carbohydrates. They are low or no fat. So for pre, intra, and post, we're going to be looking at putting 60% near enough or more of your carbohydrates for the day across these 3 feedings. So if you were lucky enough to be eating 400 grams of carbs, you'd be eating somewhere around 200, maybe 250 grams of carbs across those meals. And then all of your other meals for the day will have all of your other carbs evenly spaced out around. So your breakfasts, your pre-beds, whatever other meals sit between, not your pre, intra, or post, will have the rest of those carbohydrates in them. So if we're looking at putting together all the things we've learned and talked about, we're going to be eating high carbohydrates. We've found out how to calculate what that is. We're going to be eating low fats, found out how to calculate what that is. We're going to be getting plenty of sodium and water and electrolytes in, especially sipping on some water and some electrolytes to replenish what we lose while we're training intra-workout. We're going to be looking at prioritizing our carbs peri-workout, pre, intra, and post with low fat to compensate for that high carbs. We're going to look at getting in fasted cardio, steps, and also after we eat, looking at going for a little 10-15 minute walk to improve digestion and insulin sensitivity, which is very important. We need to keep on top of our insulin sensitivity. So we need to keep our body fat nice and low. We need to keep our activity level nice and high, and we need to keep our digestion going through with soluble and insoluble fiber, things high in beta glucagons like your oats, your barleys, your fruits, your veggies. These will all help us be more insulin sensitive. Pineapple, those sorts of things, aid with digestion. Prebiotics, probiotics, things like kefir, yogurts, anything that will help aid your digestion. Pickled vegetables, sauerkraut, kimchi, stuff like this, keep your gut microbiome. Obviously, it's going to help your food go through, which is going to stop you being bloated, full up. It's going to improve the partitioning of these nutrients, help us be more insulin sensitive. And we're obviously going to smash the gym. With all of these extra carbohydrates, it's going to translate to a whole bunch of extra performance in the gym. So what we really need to do is try hard, dig deep, bite down on our teeth, lock in our feet in the floor, grab that ground with our toes and actually try in the gym, lift heavy, train hard, to failure, high intensity, high volume, whatever you choose. Obviously, higher carbohydrates are going to let us get away with a higher volume because we'll have more energy to do more output. We don't have to always train with high volume. If we're doing high carbohydrates, we can also train with high intensity if we prefer. I'm doing high intensity, I'm doing high carbohydrates. It helps me really lock in, dial in. I always feel full. When I walk to the gym, I feel full. When I come out the gym, I feel very full. It's great. You get to lift a lot of weight. So the most important part is that this nutrition goes to aid your performance. So you're not eating massive meals before bed, massive meals nowhere near the gym. You need to have this nutrition be all about the gains, beating the logbook, progressively overloading, getting stronger and bigger session to session. That is what the nutrition goes towards fueling. So don't lose sight of that fact and get too focused on just eating loads of carbs and finding a way to do that. You need to eat loads of carbs and find a way to make you grow. So I hope, as always, I've not prattled on too long about carbohydrates this time. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you don't miss any uploads. We'll be probably looking at talking more about training in the next few videos. We've talked a lot about nutrition, a lot about carbs. I hope everyone's up to the same speed on why carbs are very important. And we're looking at gaining in close to that 500 subscriber mark. So if you're not subscribed and you watch all the videos, it'd be really nice to get up to 500 subscribers before the end of the year. I'll look at maybe doing a 500 subscriber special. I'll eat 500 grams of carbohydrates pre-workout and I'll record that, show you guys how it all goes. So I'll see you in the next video. So peace.